Hey guys, today we're going to be modeling a neuron in Cinema 4D using X particles. So let's hop in and see what we're doing. So we have the nucleus here and then the dendrites come off. So we're going to be using the XP branch to make these, and then we'll use the OVDB Mesher to create the model. So here we have our main model. We have, again, the nucleus and then the dendrites that come off. So let's hop in and let's build this. All right, here we are in S22, and let's make a sphere and icosahedron, and we'll bring in a displacer. And should be about 22, and then we'll bring in a noise to displace this with, and our noise, I use this sparse convolution with about 550 global scale, and that's good. Okay, now we'll bring in our XP system. We'll disable the icon, and our emitter we're going to set to object, and we will use the sphere and set it to polygon area. Now our emission, we're going to use a pulse and emit just maybe 45 frames. This will be how many dendrites you get. And the interval should be about 5 and 1 birth rate per frame. Let's see how this looks. Okay, now we want to visualize this a little better. So we're not going to render this, but let's bring in a trail. Automatically assigns that emitter to it, and then we can see them shooting off. Let's add some more frames. Great. This just kind of varies the length right off the bat. So now let's bring in our, well, first let's group this together. Let's rename. So this will be our main, and then let's make a group, and we'll call this main. Okay. Okay, so now before we do anything else, let's make a speed modifier, and let's go into our emission and let's take off the speed, and we're going to control the speed with this speed modifier. So we will use a spline. We want the maximum to be about 200, and we want it to kind of start low and then shoot up, and then kind of ultimately end at 0, but then kind of go curved around like this. Okay, so this is if you're going to be animating, it just kind of helps the particles have a more of an ease movement here. Okay, so now let's add in a XP branch modifier, and we can put these in their respected folders. Okay, so in our branch, this is where we're going to be making all of our dendrites. So a couple settings here. We want our max time to be about 75, and this is all depending on how you want it to look. But these are some settings that I've been experimenting with that work well. So the max time should be 195. Sorry. And then The min time, we'll do about 30 frames. Bend in 1, variation 1. And then we can go to our branching tab. And we can add our branch object, but then let's go back up a level, and then we can control that first level of branching here. So we want it to branch in about 50 frames with some variation. And branch from tip only. Number of branches, we want maybe 2 with a max of about 3, and everything else can stay the same. Okay, so now we can take a look at that. And we have them start to branch. All right, so now we need to add our second level of branching. So this one, we want it to be about 75 max, and minimum maybe about 15. And then our bend in 1, variation in 1, that's just how quickly they're going to start to bend around. We know that we want our max deviations to be maybe about 7, maybe have them move a little bit more. Okay. And then we will, let's take a look at that. Okay, that adds that second level. Okay, now we're going to add one more level of branching and then go up a level. And these ones, we want the max to be even shorter, so 45, bend in, oh wait, no, we want to go down to branching. Branch in 45 frames with a variation of about 10, and branch from tip, again 3 max, and number of branches 2. And I think that's going to be it. Yeah, these ones should just be like really short here, so maybe 20, 10, 1, 1. Those last ones are just too big. Just want really small ones that come out right at the end there. Maybe a little bit longer. Some variation. Great, so this is kind of the main structure here. Now we want to set up, so I have kind of experimented with trying to mesh this and trails and spline mesher, and it seems like the best method is to use a spawn. So we'll add a spawn and we'll make a spawning emitter, and let's immediately group this and change the color. And we'll name this spawn and this spawn. Put that back in the groups here. Okay. Now, our spawns, we want to put this in here. We want to emit 1 per frame. Let's turn the spawn group into circles so we can see the radius. and we don't want any speed, and we want our initial speed. We already put it in the group, so we want to only affect this main group with our speed. And then let's try. Yeah, so there are particles on there. Okay, so now we want to use, we basically want all different size particles to come out of these dendrites here, starting large and then ending up small, and that's what's going to create our mesh. So the best way I've found to do this is to use Signal, Grayscale Gorilla plugin. We want to drive the radius. You know, you could just animate keyframe this throughout, and that that would work. But this is going to be easier and better, and have way more control over this. Also, we can layer in a noise, which is going to be great. So we wanted to control the radius. I think I already dragged that on there, but let's just do it again. Radius, and over time, it's going to get less and less. The minimum is going to be, I guess, about 4, and the max is going to be about 25. Now let's see if that, yeah, so see, we have nice big particles, and towards the end they get smaller and smaller. Let's basically have them go down to nothing at the end. And then let's add in a noise modifier with about 35% positive and negative. So now that's going to create variation of these particles that come out. All right, so we don't really need to see our trail anymore. That was just a guide to see how our branches were flowing. But here we go. So yeah, that's all looking good here. Okay, so now we have to mesh this. So we'll bring in our OVDB Mesher, and we can actually just bring in our group that we want to mesh. Actually, we also want to mesh our sphere, and then we can disable this from the viewport. Okay. Now our mesher, let's bring our radius way down to just like 1. Add in a lower voxel size. Depending on the resolution and how close you want to be, that's you can change your voxel size accordingly. Let's put it at 2 for now, and then use a median filter, and we can use an offset to kind of pinch it in, and that's good for now. So this is animatable if you would like. But for right now, let's say that we're happy with this, and it's let's just render this. So let's do current state to object. Okay. And then I'm going to go into a new scene and just paste it in so we're nice and snappy here. Okay, so here we have our neuron, and I'm going to use Arnold to render this. So let's switch to our Arnold layout. Okay, and let's immediately get some lighting in here. So bring in a sky, and I like to use HDRI link. It's another Grayscale Gorilla plugin. It works with all the render engines. So drag your color onto your HDRI link texture tag there, and then launch the browser. And then this is where you load in all your packs. I really like using HDRI metal. And we can bring in this 16. And then let's fire up this IPR, and we can turn off it from the viewport there. Okay. So we just have some basic lighting for now. Frame up, find a nice angle here. So let's displace this a little bit more. We can bring in our displacer and break this up a little bit. So we're going to use two different displacers, one kind of large and one smaller. And you can animate these if you like. If you're making something that's not a neuron, maybe some other kind of cell, and you want to animate its movement, then you can quickly do that using a displacer. So we'll make this a little smaller, and then let's load in a noise. Just a standard noise. You can change the seed a little bit, and we can change this to about 1500, just to really kind of get a large scale displacer on here. And then we can put really small animation speed, so that will kind of go through and animate. So that's the large. So we'll do large, and then we'll just copy this, and then this will be our small. In our large, we should actually change the low clip as well, maybe about 30%. Yeah, 500, not 1500, or maybe even 200. Yeah, about 500 is going to work. And then our small noise, we can change this to, I think FBM looks pretty good. And about a little less, about 3 centimeters height, and about 500 scale. And again, we can animate this, which it's already animated at 0.4, and change the random seed. Okay, so yeah, this is going to animate. I'm not sure how the playback will be, but yeah, it's pretty good. It's kind of this undulating effect here. We're going to texture this now, and we want it to kind of shoot the electric pulses throughout this neuron here. I previously made this shader, so let's just walk through it. So you'll have your standard surface material here, and first you will make a noise node, and you can set the settings like this. And in the coordinates tab, this is where you can animate this noise, and this will be the electricity or the electric kind of impulses going through the neuron. So just animate this, do some experiment with the different numbers there. So this then should go into your ramp RGB node, and you can kind of pinch it a little bit over to the right, and then bring in a mix RGBA node, and then put that into input 1, and then I put a curvature node in, and I mix that into input 2, and then I'm not sure what the exact what exactly I changed in here, if anything. Yeah, I just added some more samples. And then that went into our weight. So this was our emission weight. And that's all I changed. I think I added some coat in there as well. And then this standard surface shader then gets mixed, bring in a mix shader, and then blend, set it to blend, and then bring in another standard surface material. And I didn't have any weight. And this has, coat on it as well. And that's about it. So when that is rendered, you have something like this. Okay, so that should do it. I just, in the filters tab here, I kind of adjusted the curves and put up some saturation. And when you add in some glow, you can do render passes on this and just glow the emission of this, and you'll be looking pretty good. Again, for animating the noise, this noise under coordinates time, and this will change here. Like, let's set it to 1. See, it changed. So this is kind of how you have your electricity kind of going through. All right, guys, that's it. Hope you found that useful. I'll see you in the next one.